Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about some NFL plays I like this week for the Week 7 Sunday slate. We're going to talk about, kind of the early games and the early afternoon games, so the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games on Sunday. Not going to talk about, any plays from Sunday Night Football, at least not in this video. I didn't make a video for the primetime game last week for Thursday Night Football. It's been really, really hectic with NBA, kind of starting up now and NFL still in full swing. I'm trying to manage, both sports across the channel. It's really tough because I don't want to make like a ton of videos just because it does kind of clog up the channel, and the videos don't do really well when you're uploading videos one after the other. So I'm going to try and manage the NFL videos the best I can with the NBA videos. I think right now the plan is to definitely get up NFL videos every week for the full Sunday slate. And I'll probably post these videos every Saturday. I'm going to upload this video on Saturday morning. I'm recording it on Friday night. So I want to get these videos up for NFL every Saturday. Don't know yet about if I'll be making videos for Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I still do give out some picks on Patreon. We did give out a 2-pick entry on Patreon for Thursday Night Football for that Saints-Cardinals game. And we did cash our 2-pick entry. We did take DeAndre Hopkins over fantasy score. Hopkins had a big game in his first game this season. I think he had over 100 receiving yards. I think he had 10 receptions, finished well over his fantasy score. And then we also took Alvin Kamara, took his over receptions, and he finished with, I think, 7 receptions, and we only needed over 4. So cashed our 2-pick entry for Thursday Night Football over on Patreon. I will try and get some videos out, though, for the primetime games moving forward. It's just been really tough, with trying to handle NFL content with NBA content. But before we do talk through our 3 plays this week, I got 3 plays I'm liking for this NFL slate, guys. Make sure you hit that like button down below if you do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they do help you out. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Again, if you do want to get more Prizepicks plays from me, I do provide those over on Patreon. And I will definitely have some more props that I'm liking this week. I will share those probably sometime either Saturday night or Sunday morning. I will make a Patreon post with a full list of plays. Usually it's like 4 to 5 plays. And I'll give a full write-up for each play. Outside of just the picks that I give out on YouTube, I'm always providing more picks over on Patreon. So if you do want to check those out, as always, the Patreon is linked down below in the description. Not only will you get access to my Prizepicks plays, you'll also get access to my DFS content. So if you play DFS on DraftKings or Yahoo, I provide content on Patreon for those sites. Also, I do have a Discord chat that is available for Patreon members. You can chill in Discord, ask me questions, talk to other members. I'm always in Discord to help you guys out, answer some questions. So again, if you're interested in the Patreon content, check that out, link down below in the description. And also, if you have not signed up for Prizepicks yet, make sure to sign up with promo code NOAH. When you guys do sign up for Prizepicks, with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's talk through our picks for NFL this week. I got a reception prop that I'm liking, and then I have 2 fantasy score props that I'm liking. So for receptions, we're going to talk about Mark Andrews, and I like Mark Andrews to have more than 5.5 receptions this week going up against the Browns. So Mark Andrews has just had an amazing role this season for the Ravens. He's been one of the top targeted. I'm pretty sure he leads all tight ends in targets this season, and he's gone over 5.5 receptions in 4 out of his 6 games. There's only been 2 games this year where Andrews did not have 6 catches. One of them was against the Bills back on week 3. Week 4, excuse me. Andrews had 5 targets, finished with just 2 receptions in that game, as you can see. And then week 1, first game of the season against the Jets, he had 7 targets, finished with 5 receptions. That game he also went under. But every other game this season, 4 out of 6 games, he has 6+ receptions. And like I said, Andrews is just getting absurd volume this season. He leads all tight ends in targets this season. He has 57 targets. He's averaging nearly 10 targets per game. He also leads the NFL in target share, which is absurd for a tight end. He's got a 34.34% target share this year, which leads the NFL. It obviously leads the Ravens too. And when you're looking at the Ravens' target share, the second highest guy is Devin Duvernay. Devin Duvernay has a 15% target share. So Mark Andrews has nearly double the amount. Like his target share is it is double what the second highest guy is, Devin Duvernay. Like when Lamar Jackson's throwing the ball, he is looking for Mark Andrews. If Lamar throws the ball 30 times this week, there's a good chance that Mark Andrews is getting 10 targets just because his target share has been right around 33%. It's basically about a third of the pass attempts that Lamar is attempting are going to Mark Andrews. The volume's going to be there. Andrews is going to be the focal point of this Ravens offense. We've seen them a little bit more inclined to throw the ball this year, and they will be without J.K. Dobbins this week, which I think is probably good for their passing game, just because they're not as likely to run the ball with Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis. They might lean on Lamar even more here, lean on Lamar's arm. So if Lamar's throwing the ball 28, 30 times, which is basically what he's been doing all season, those have been his pass attempts pretty much on a weekly basis. I think there's a good chance you see 10, 11, 12 targets from Mark Andrews. He's usually a guy that is going to bring down those balls. He's a guy that can catch pretty much everything that gets thrown his way. So 5.5 receptions. I definitely think this line probably should be 6. I think Andrews does have a really good chance to get 6 catches this week. Right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, this line is set at 5.5, but there is some juice coming in the over. Slight juice on the over. I think it's minus 125 last time I checked. I'll check again real quick. So yeah, 5.5 receptions on DK Sportsbook, minus 125 for Mark Andrews. So, it's nice to see some good odds there as well. At least, it's nice to see that there's a little bit of juice on the over. I mean, Andrews has just been so solid this season, and 6 catches is something that I think he's going to get most weeks just with the amount of volume that he's seeing. So that's what I like for our first prop. And then our next 2 props, as I mentioned, are going to be fantasy scores. So first off, we're going to talk about Josh Jacobs, and I like Josh Jacobs to have more than 16.5 fantasy points this week. And this is a line that actually got bumped up. This line was at 15.5 earlier this week. I do always take a look at the NFL lines kind of early on in the week. I don't make my videos, though, till later in the week. And this line was at 15.5. I would have liked to get it at 15.5, but I still think at 16.5 it looks really, really good. So Josh Jacobs has just had an absurd role the last few weeks for the Raiders. He's been getting an insane amount of volume. Last 2 games, Jacobs has played over 80% of the snaps. He's seen 34 touches and 36 touches, 28 carries for 144 yards, 6 targets, 5 catches for 31 yards, had 2 touchdowns against Denver, the game where he scored 34 fantasy points. And then last week against Kansas City, 21 carries for 154 yards and a touchdown. Also had 5 targets, 5 catches for 39 yards. He's getting both an insane amount of usage on the ground, and he's also getting really good usage in the passing game. He's had at least 5 targets now in 3 straight games. He's had 20-plus carries in back-to-back games. He's pretty much locked in for almost 20 touches on a weekly basis. Like he's been really good this season. He's been really efficient as a runner. That's something that we in previous seasons we've kind of seen Josh Jacobs be inefficient as a runner. He was a guy that only averaged like 2 to 3 yards per carry. Lately, man, he's been breaking off a lot of long runs. He's been breaking a lot of tackles. He's just looked really elusive. He's looked really quick, and it's a fantastic matchup this week against the Texans. So far this season, there's no team giving up more fantasy points to opposing running backs than the Texans. They're giving up nearly 25 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. So it's a great matchup. The Texans really struggle against the run. Jacobs is going to get massive volume here. He's going to get usage both on the ground and in the passing game. If the Raiders, if they ever get in any goal line situations, that Josh Jacobs is going to be the guy punching it in. He's pretty much going to be on the field for close to every single snap. Probably going to play 80+% of the snaps. The Raiders do have a pretty high team total this week. Right now, their team total is sitting at, let me see where it's at, sitting at 26.5. And they're 7-point favorites in this game at home against the Texans. So definitely a spot where we could see the Raiders playing with a lead. They could be, giving Josh Jacobs a lot of carries in the second half. I like this prop a lot. I think this fantasy score line could definitely be higher. The site that I do look at for projections, they actually have Josh Jacobs projected for just over 20 fantasy points this week. So yeah, 16.5 I think is too low. I think Jacobs could get 20 carries for 80 yards, and he could get 5 catches for 30 yards, and that's what is that? That's 16 fantasy points, or maybe 6 catches for 30 yards, or 5 catches for 40 yards. Like 80 rushing yards, 5 catches, 40 yards. That would put him at 17 fantasy points. So like he doesn't even have to get a touchdown to go over this fantasy score. Obviously, if he does get into the end zone, even better. But the amount of volume he's getting right now, it just makes this prop look so appealing. I don't know if they're going to add a touchdown prop for Jacobs. Like right now, there's not a touchdown prop available for him. I want to look at what his touchdown odds are this week. So let's see. Josh Jacobs' anytime touchdown is currently, on DraftKings Sportsbook, is currently sitting at minus 135. So I don't know if Prizepicks will put up a touchdown prop for Jacobs, given that he's minus 135 to score a touchdown. But obviously, seeing that he's pretty heavily favored to score a touchdown is even better for us. Fantasy score, it kind of factors in everything. Like there's a lot of ways that Jacobs could go over this fantasy score, whether he gets into the end zone, whether he has another big rushing yard game, whether he catches a lot of passes, which he can do. A lot of ways for him to go over this one. So that's going to be our second prop this week that I'm going to be playing. And then the third and final prop I'm going to take is a guy that we took last week, and he let us down last week, but I'm going to go right back to this play. Geno Smith, 15.5 fantasy score. This is what his line was last week. And I still think this line is too low. He just came up short of it last week, was really unfortunate, had 12 fantasy points against the Cardinals. But he didn't throw a single touchdown last week, and he was very heavily favored. He was actually, I think last week he was minus 160 to throw 2 touchdowns, and he threw 0. So that was definitely unfortunate for Geno Smith to come up just short with 0 touchdowns. If he would have thrown at least 1 touchdown last week, he would have went over his fantasy score. But the 3 games prior to that, he has gone over 15.5 fantasy points. And we've seen Geno Smith play at a really, really high level this season. He's been a really efficient quarterback. He's been really accurate as a passer. It's a pretty good matchup here against the Chargers. Right now, this Chargers-Seahawks game does have the highest total on the slate of all the Sunday games. It has a 50 total right now. It actually opened at 53.5, but it's at 50 right now. And the Chargers are favored by 5 here. So I think with this game being a high total, with it expected to be high scoring, that's obviously a good sign. Also, I think the Chargers being pretty decent favorites in this game is a good sign as well. I could see this being a game where Seattle is playing from behind. Maybe they have to throw a little bit more. They've been letting Geno drop back a good amount. I think Geno did have over 30 pass attempts last week. He's had over 30 pass attempts now he's had 30 plus pass attempts now in 4 out of their last 5 games. So they've really been letting Geno throw the ball. I thought this Seattle team was going to be like a really run-heavy team this season, but Geno's been playing really well. He's been throwing a lot. He's been very efficient as a passer. And you look at his props kind of across the board. This is something that we talked about last week. And again, I know he came up just short, but when you look at his lines across the board, he's projected for 250 passing yards. So 250 passing yards is 10 fantasy points. He's projected for around 20 rushing yards, so that's 2 fantasy points. So that would put him at 12 right there. If he throws for 250 yards and has 20 rushing yards, right there, that's 12 fantasy points. And again, he's a slight favorite to throw 2 touchdowns. He's not as big of a favorite this week as he was last week to throw 2 touchdowns. But right now on DK Sportsbook, for 1.5 touchdowns to go over 1.5 touchdowns, he's minus 135. So obviously he's a big favorite to throw 1 touchdown. If Geno Smith, I'm pretty much banking on 250 passing yards, 20 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. If he does that, that would put him over 15.5 fantasy score. If he has a similar line to what he did last week and just obviously throws a touchdown, then we're good. If he doesn't get into the end zone, that's going to be unfortunate because I think it will be kind of tough for him to get into to go over this fantasy score without having at least 1 touchdown. But he could. I mean, he could have like 300 passing yards and 40 rushing yards, and that would put him over. Geno Smith is a mobile quarterback. He's not like a great runner, but I think last week he did have over 40 rushing yards. So he offers some rushing upside too. It's a good matchup. It's a great game environment. It should be a high-scoring game. 15.5 fantasy points I feel like is too low for Geno Smith, especially with how well he's played this season. And right now, the projections that I use, they currently have Geno Smith projected for just over 19 fantasy points. So there's another big gap in fantasy point projection there. And I do trust these projections. I look at these projections every week. They have Geno for just over 19 fantasy points. So a big gap like that, that's something that's always going to be appealing. And that's going to be our third and final pick for this NFL slate, guys. So these are the 3 picks I'm going to be playing. Again, guys, I will probably have some more picks posted either sometime Saturday night or Sunday morning. So if you want to check out the Patreon, I do provide additional Prizepicks plays over on Patreon. I will have a full list of plays, probably anywhere from 4 to 5 additional plays. I'll give a write-up for each one as well, kind of explaining why I like the play. You can mix and match those plays. You can run them all in one entry. It's up to you. But if you want more Prizepicks plays from me, check out the Patreon. Link down below in the description. But I do wish you guys the best of luck this week. Hopefully we can cash out. Hopefully we can hit all 3 of these plays. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And again, if you haven't signed up for Prizepicks, make sure to sign up for Prizepicks and use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But best of luck this week, guys. Thanks as always for supporting the content, for supporting the channel, checking out these videos. Appreciate you guys a ton. Let's all win some money this week, and we'll see you in the next video, guys. Best of luck. Peace.